Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Sing Shong. Chapter 442. Dokja's Incarnation. Part 4. A juicy, powerful rays of light exploding out from Kim Dokja's entire body, and the waves of magical energy containing Emperor S' great fable pouncing on Shin Yusung's position, happened almost at the same time. She reflexively embraced his body. The durability of her Beast King's sensitivity had dropped to a critical level after defending against countless attacks so far. But she had no other methods to defend against this new wave other than this one. She squeezed her eyes shut, and the moment she hunkered down, a storm of blinding light exploded and the waves of fables blanketing the surroundings disappeared as if they were washed away. Ah! Her body, raised up to the sky, slowly descended back down again. The spot where Kim Dokja had been standing only until a moment ago was now occupied by a tall man. He was blessed with the blindingly pure platinum blonde hair, forged steel-like muscles, and fiery golden eyes, burning in a crimson hue. Emperor S' constellations freaked out. This can't be. The outer gods were also shocked by the emission of the stupendous level of status from him. Currently possessing the bodies of the Yogos, these outer gods expressed their fluster at the stunning status of chaos rising from this tall man. Hoo. The man grinned brightly. For them to not recognize me. I guess my retirement has gone on for too long. Shin Yusung couldn't figure out what was going on here. She could definitely sense Kim Dokja's aura from this man, but he was not him. In that case, just who was this man? A juicy. So, you're Sanzang? The great sage calmly looked down at her before slowly lowering himself. Soon, their gazes were locked on the same eye level. Kim Dokja is safe. An unfathomable sense of lonesome longing flooded out from his fiery golden eyes. Shin Yusung unconsciously reached out. The moment her hand touched that cold golden headband on his head. Fable, Demon King of Salvation, is continuing with its storytelling. Her hand trembled. She could sense it so clearly. Kim Dokja was living and breathing within this person. Not only did he not transform into a mysterious something, but the figure of Kim Dokja she was familiar with remained as was. Yusung. Zhang Huiwen dashed in from the distance and hurriedly shielded Shin Yusung away while shooting the great sage a glare. He simply grinned back at her and shifted his gaze up to the sky. That was where a portion of Emperor S' constellations, great Dakibis, as well as the Weni King could be found. Why do you all look like that? Weren't you yapping unhappily among yourselves without the protagonist of Journey to the West, me, present earlier? Indeed, he was the main protagonist of the journey, the great sage, Heaven's equal. One of the great Dakibis asked him a question. Why have you stepped forward? Do you not have an agreement with the Emperor? I didn't break the deal. Besides, do you even have any idea what that deal is in first place, before asking me that? The great Dakibi didn't have the chance to reply, as the Weni King's true voice butted in first. Monkey King. Are you insane? The Demon King of Salvation is ours. He's an outer god now, in other words. That was our agreement. He's my brother now. And also, the great sage's fiery golden eyes emitted bright light. I'm also an outer god now, you see. Due to Dizhen Shengfo's transformation into an outer god, the aura of chaos was billowing out from Sun Wukong's entire body. Shares of outer god in the applicable scenario currently is 35.333%. Hidden scenario, verifying agreement has been completed. Power of the great fable has begun moving. Scenario, Journey to the West remake, is entering its final phase. And then, Sun Wukong looked at his longtime comrades. Yogos that had fallen into confusion were all looking up at him. The majority of them were outer gods used as expendables in the scenario. Up until only a few moments ago, they had been searching for their king, yet now, they were shaking their heads in a clear sign of fluster. King is king is king is king is king is. Which one, which one, which one, which one, which one? Yogos were at a loss, stuck between the great sage appearing as a brand new outer god, and the secretive plotter they had been following originally. He spoke to them as if he could understand their confusion. "You all suffered greatly until now, my friends." These Yogos, they had experienced this really lengthy tale together with him. "I know very well of the ordeals you were subjected to. I was born as a Yogo, but got influenced by men's ways, and ended up accepting their ideals and customs. I carried out what they deemed to be true righteousness, and walked on their path of Tao. Sometimes, they were his enemies. At other times, they were his allies. And the result of that is this. Yogos were sacrificed. And the meaningless epiphany repeated itself. Now, Journey to the West has become a tool to strengthen the nebula's influence by spreading around the tired, obvious truths. However, all of that was nothing more than a fable, a play performed on a stage. I'm sure it'll be impossible to atone for the past. Even then, if you are willing to forgive me." The ancient king of the Yogos. Their king, who used to fight against the heavenly worlds once upon a time, was now speaking to them. "Then I shall fight for you from now on." One by one, Yogos raised their heads. "Really, really, 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 really?" The great sage replied to them. "I shall put my true name on the line and swear to you." Yogos began moving towards him. 1 and 2 soon became 10, grew to 100, and before long, went past 1,000. Yogos hiding under the river's water, ones hiding within the clouds in the sky, they all revealed themselves. They gathered like swarms and began forming a horde. As if they were trying to worship the king they had served a long time ago. Ancient great fable is waking up. "Halt! Cease what you're doing. You're a judge. A judge cannot interfere with a fable in progress." Great Dakibes urgently stepped forward to stop this situation, but it was useless, at least this time around. Starstream has acknowledged the probability of the 95th main scenario. Main theme of the Journey to the West remake is changing drastically. Even the great Dakibes couldn't go against the gigantic flow of the Starstream. As for the Weni king, it stepped back without resistance as if it wished to observe the unfolding situation first. Its original aim was to send outer gods into a scenario anyway, so technically, that goal had pretty much already been accomplished. The only problem was, who was the one leading all these outer gods? Kugugugugu. Thunderbolts crashed down from the great hole in the sky, and soon, something broke past the abyss to make their descent. He is. Status emitted by him was so powerful that the outer gods appearing so far couldn't even compare to him. The great sage, the Weni king, even the great Dakibes, they all witnessed that person's incarnation into the world. The great sage smirked. So, he finally showed up. Constellation, secretive plotter, has incarnated into the scenario's location. Someone has joined the scenario in the role of Demon King of Confusion. The secretive plotter, currently in the form of a jet-black lump of shadow wavering around in the wind, took on the role of a Yogo to participate in the scenario. Perhaps due to him not going through a proper entry procedure, blindingly bright sparks were enveloping his entire body. The great sage asked him, "Are you here to hinder this great master, son?" "That depends on your choice." As expected, you have a rather insidious-sounding voice, secretive plotter. This would be the first time that these two came face to face. A confrontation was brewing between two constellations who had been watching Kim Dokja for a long time through Baihyung's, and later, Biyu's channel. The great sage growled and spoke up. "You pretended to be all slick and sophisticated in your indirect messages, but today, you finally reveal your true colors." The secretive plotter quietly studied the great sage. "Meanwhile, you are just as thoughtless as your indirect messages suggest." Sun Wukong emitted a stupendous amount of status and roared out triumphantly while gripping his Ruijin Gubang. "Enough talk. Since you're here, let's fight. This situation won't get resolved unless I kick your ass first, anyway." The plotter's entrance caused agitation and unrest to spread among the surrounding Yogos. It seemed as if they were hesitating on who to follow among these two absolute beings. Submit to the king of all yogos, the great sage, heaven's equal? If not, submit to the king of outer gods, the secretive plotter? The possibility of a sudden confrontation between two constellations brought about a palpable sense of tension to the great Dakibes, Winnie King, and to other constellations floating in the air. On one side, an outer god who dreamed of the star stream's destruction, while the other, the strongest constellation within star stream itself. A battlefield that had never been created before was about to commence. Sun Wukong, burning with the will to fight, was about to raise his Rui Bang high up into the sky, but then, "I'm sorry, but your opponent today isn't going to be me." Accompanying those words, the heavens split open wide and a great amount of sparks exploded out. Nebula, Emperor-S, constellations are descending to the scenario. The number flooding in was in another realm altogether compared to Emperor-S forces that had entered so far. Half-destroyed stars of the 28 mansions, the few remaining lords of the 9 stars, dragon kings of the 4 seas, and after that, a countless number of immortals and war gods from the Taoist pantheon were incarnating into the scenario. Constellation, master of the immortal Peach Garden, is incarnating into the scenario. Constellation, Heaven's Wise Man, is incarnating into the scenario. A great number of constellations hiding their modifiers are incarnating into the scenario. That wasn't all. Spirits that ruled the plains, the mountains, and the rivers, and even the great cosmic army that guarded the heavenly palaces, an army consisting of over 100,000 in total, blanketed the scenario sky. The pagoda-bearing heavenly King Li Jing, Prince Neza, and Erlang Shen. Now that is a nostalgic combination. And not only that, the heavenly palace's lazy-arsed geezers are here too. The enemies from the heavenly palace he used to fight against a long time ago were now standing before him. Great sage, what's the meaning of this? Prince Neza, the very one who tried to suppress Zhang Huiwen along with Fei Hu earlier, was now brimming full with the power of a fable incomparably mightier than before. That was because he was no longer playing a role from the fable chamber, but making an appearance as himself. What do you mean, what? I'm here to end this scenario. The great sage's curt reply prompted an immediate opposition from Emperor-S constellations to rise up. You can't arbitrarily decide on the conclusion like this. Don't you realize that the journey to the west will end up in the hands of a weakling Nebula if you do this? Hurry and give up on the sacred texts. The great sage looked at the sacred texts held in his hand, and then took a glance at Shin Yusung next to him. Then, a smirk formed on his lips. Arg, it's fine if it ends up with them. What's the problem? I mean, it's good that its fame is spreading out even further, am I wrong? This is against our agreement. Nope, it isn't. Us helping you out was until the 4 Sun Wukongs choose the same fable, wasn't it? And that day has arrived, that's all. Having realized what the great sage was thinking of, the Emperor-S constellations began exchanging glances with each other. Nebula, Emperor, is greatly enraged at the prisoner of the golden headband. Erlang Shen stepped forward to represent his Nebula. Great sage. Do you understand what your actions mean? Could you be possibly planning to start the Great War against the heavenly worlds in this place? No, I didn't think of that, but well, if you wish to fight, then, kugugugu. The incredible aura flooding out from the great sage's incarnation body forced constellations of Emperor to falter and retreat. His fable that swept across the heavenly worlds in the past was being unshackled in this scenario. However, Erlang Shen's voice remained composed. I acknowledge your strength. No one from Emperor can even dream of besting you in one-on-one combat. However, you can't win in this fight. Because, the fable will simply repeat itself. Suchachachuchit. Signs of stage transformation could be spied now. Fables collided, and the event from a long time ago was about to be recreated once more. A great war between the King of Yogos, the great sage Heaven's Equal, and Emperor. The great sage spoke up. For sure, I did lose back then. However, that was when I was just the great sage, Heaven's Equal. The emperor sensed something was off and made their move first. He's about to use his magic. Subdue him, now. Lord Dao Tianzuan. Yurjing Gangzuo. Come, 6 brothers from the Mei Mountain. The great sage summoned his somersault cloud while watching the army of the heavenly worlds pounce on him. Dark clouds dyeing the sky black heeded Sun Wukong's fable and began gathering into one place. Great fable, Journey to the West, has begun its storytelling. And then, he opened his mouth. My true name is Sun Wukong. The great sage heavens equal dot. My Hawang dot. Baimawan dot. Duzhan Shengfo dot. And, finally, the demon king of salvation dot. A storm began raging on top of the Tongtian River. Thunder and lightning crashed down. And in the center of this storm, the great sage was slowly clenching his fists. Asterisk. As the blinding lightning bolts pounded down on the battlefield, Yu Yunghayok finally arrived at his destination. The godly figure of the great sage, bringing down numerous constellations in the middle of the Tongtian, was truly something to behold. Kim Dokja is inside that guy, huh? Thanks to his golden-colored eye of sage, Yu Yunghayok got to quickly confirm Kim Dokja's current situation. It seemed that the fool was still alive. And for some strange reason, that powerful, great sage personally incarnated to grant the man his own powers. Zhang Huiwen and Xin Yusung could be seen some distance away. They were basically hiding among the great battles taking place between the Yogos and the constellations, which was a wise decision on their part, really. As for Yi Gilyang, Yi Jihai, or even Jan Haiyang, it seemed that they hadn't arrived in this location as of yet. We need to finish this scenario soon. Their fabled chamber had already reached the top of the rankings, and the sacred texts were in the hands of Xin Yusung, currently playing the role of Tang Sanzang. The I'd become the retired SSSSS grade Sun Wukong Fable Chamber is currently holding the sacred texts. Guarding the sacred texts for 1 hour will automatically conclude the scenario. 54 minutes remaining until the conclusion of the scenario. Even the final phase of the scenario had been activated, as well. Just by holding on, the great fable of the Journey to the West would be Kim Dokja Company's. However, there was one thing that concerned him. And that would be Kugububu. It was that person currently spectating on the battlefield from the middle of the sky. The secretive plotter. He was simply watching on at the fight between the great sage and emperor without getting involved. Yu Yunghayok could guess what he was planning here. He was probably planning to wait until the great sage ran out of strength and launch a sneak attack on his opponent afterwards. However, the incarnated plotter's aura wasn't the same as before. He seems to have wasted a lot of probability. He indeed has far too much riding on this regression turn. Those words were spoken by Yu Yunghayok, 999. From some time ago, this damn dumpling was making himself home on the full-sized Yu Yunghayok's shoulder. He glanced at 999 with disinterested eyes before silently unsheathing the dark heavenly demon sword. Meaning, this is my chance to kill him. That was when the secretive plotter accurately locked eyes with him. Just from meeting that being's gaze caused Yu Yunghayok to freeze up on the spot. Fable, one who opposes miracles, is shrinking away. Fable, one who hunted the king of disasters, is refusing to fight. His fables were shivering in fear. So, becoming weak meant falling into such a state? The memories of defeat brushing past him now ruled over him. Perhaps, the dark heavenly demon sword wasn't the only thing that broke on that day. 999 addressed him again. Looks like you're afraid. Yu Yunghayok didn't want to acknowledge it, but it was the truth. Indeed, the current you will never defeat the great plotter. It was the despair that couldn't be overcome no matter which history he was willing to bet away. Yu Yunghayok stared at that overwhelming wall of time. That wasn't something mere effort could overcome. However, it's not as if there are no other avenues left for you. What? 999 leapt off from Yu Yunghayok's shoulder, and his outer appearance began transforming. A Murim dumpling was changing to that of Yu Yunghayok. 999's height grew back up in an instant, and regained the exact same appearance as Yu Hyok's. The distinctive status of a transcender oozed out from the back of another him, currently facing away. Yu Hyok became keenly aware of who this was in this moment. Yu Hyok, from the 999th turn. As his black coat danced in the air, 999 addressed his counterpart. Remember. Remember who you really are. Remember what you wished to achieve by coming this far. 999 then slowly pulled out a sword from his inner pocket. Surprisingly, it was not the heaven-shaking sword. No, it was the dark heavenly demon sword, the exact same weapon that the third turn Yu Hyok possessed. 999 spoke up once more. Let me show you the battle from the 999th turn. Chapter 443. Dokja's Incarnation. Part 5. Anyone would have read about Sun Wukong's story at least once in their lives. In my case, the first thing I'd recall after hearing his name would be his description as written in the Ways of Survival. Rui Jingu Bang, that destroys the heavens. Body outside body spell, that allows him to fight against a nebula all by himself. Thunderclouds capable of bringing down stars of the world. One of the strongest constellations in the Ways of Survival, that was the great sage heaven's equal, Sun Wukong. Great Fable, Journey to the West, is continuing on with its storytelling. And right now, I had become that very Sun Wukong. Kugugugugu. Every time the great sage's fist pointed at a spot in the sky, the stars of Emperor fell in droves. I ended up holding my breath after witnessing that overwhelming power from a first-person perspective. I already knew that he was powerful, but never did I guess that it'd be by this much. Hey, Magneya. What are you busy yapping on about? I heard Mai Haowang's voice in my head. It seemed that including myself, all 5 versions of Sun Wukong were watching the great sage's rampage in real time as well. Are you shocked by your Hyung Nim's power level? To be honest, I'm really impressed. Kwak 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 kwak. Kawak. A giant that got sent flying away just now was a Fablegrade constellation. Come on now, how could blowing away a Fablegrade with a single lightning bolt even make sense? Mai Haowang spoke as if to mock our opponents. HNG, was that the giant god? That measly little Fablegrade made a mistake by trying to fight us. But, wasn't the prisoner of the golden headband a Fablegrade as well? The one who answered back this time was Baimoen. If we were on our own, sure. But you now understand what kind of an existence we are, don't you? He was right. This was really hitting home for me. The main protagonist of the Journey to the West, Sun Wukong, was created by 4 different Sun Wukongs. The king of all monkeys that ruled the Water Curtain Cave, Mai Haowang. Acknowledged by the Jade Emperor for his magical prowess and awarded the post of Baimoen. The great sage heaven's equal, who fought against the heavenly worlds that looked down on him. And finally, Dushan Shengfo, who gained enlightenment through the events of the Journey to the West. Only after the fables of these Sun Wukongs gather in one place would his true power be unleashed. Baimoen muttered out. That great sage dude, he's really having fun, isn't he? Well, I guess it's been a long time since he got to cut loose like this. Indeed, the great sage's true voice sounded as if he was really enjoying himself. The heavenly worlds have become a lot weaker, haven't you? Is this all you've got? Fablegrade constellations couldn't even endure 10 or so exchanges of blows, and all came crashing down into the Tongtian River's waters. Attack him. Despite that, Emperor S forces still remained powerful. After all, it was the nebula that boasted the highest number of stars in this star stream. The thing was, though, the great sage's fable was only getting started, too. Oh. Outer gods roared out all at the same time, and a lightning bolt landed on Sun Wukong's Rui Bang. Ripples of golden light exploded then, and he powerfully threw his weapon into the sky. Huaya! Rui Bang's torpedo-like attack burned the heavens and flew forward with ferocious momentum. Incredible gusts of gale winds whipped around. Finally, the dispersing spray of water died down. One of the constellations, soaked to the bone like a mouse that fell inside a well, muttered out in disbelief. What is the meaning of? A portion of the skies was now empty. That single attack managed to annihilate thousands of divine immortals rushing in. Is this the real great sage, heaven's equal? Even then, even when facing this overwhelming spectacle, Emperor's spirit didn't diminish one bit. There's no need to fear. His fable is bound to hit its limit soon. Do not let up and attack. He's all alone in the end. The number of divine immortals swelled back up again and refilled the empty void in an instant. This was how Emperor fought. I got goosebumps. No matter how strong our side was, that side had no end to their supply. At this rate, the one to lose would be HNG, no need to cower already. That fool hasn't used his power yet, after all. That fool? I meant Disan Shengfo. Ah, Disan Shengfo, the victorious fighting Buddha. He was the one who dealt with the outer god transformation penalty earlier in my stead. Is he alright? The fourth is fine. He's enlightened in the ways of the Four Noble Truths, so the memories of the material world are meaningless to him. Everything would return to nothingness, that's why. Baimawen quickly tackled Mai Hawang down. Since when did Disan Shengfo become the fourth? Since he was the fourth one to make the appearance, that's why. Isn't it normal to count chronologically? With that thought process, then. Obviously, I am the first since Sun Wukong started off with me. And congratulations, even though you're the least famous one, you get to be the second. Acting exactly like a dumbass monkey that you are, busy spitting in your own face. You think anyone would actually remember a king of monkeys stuck in a cave? Well, it's a lot better than you fool who had to clean horse shit out of a stable. Was it because of the two Sun Wukongs bickering? The construction of the great sage's fable became unstable for a moment there, and he ended up getting struck abruptly by an enemy attack. As the main body began shaking, the great sage finally exploded in irritation. Shut the hell up. I can't concentrate. Of course, he didn't forget to add one more thing triumphantly, as well. I'm the most famous one, so obviously I'm the first. Mai Hawang and Baimawen exploded in a fit of dissatisfaction at the same time. For the first time since the battle commenced, the great sage had to be on the defensive against the incoming vast wave of the stars. If he got pushed back here, then he'd not be able to win this war. Maybe both Mai Hawang and Baimawen understood that point as well, as they stopped bickering and concentrated, as well. Boom. Bang. Kaboom. It was at that moment that a corner of the battlefield collapsed and a huge battleship made its entrance. A juicy. I'm here, dash. It was E.G. Hai, advancing forward while destroying Emperor's vessels. The members of Kim Dokja Company had made their move in order to support Sun Wukong fighting alone. That wasn't all, though. Constellation, golden-bodied Arhat, is incarnating into the scenario. The great sage's real comrades began entering the scenario, one by one. The golden-bodied Arhat, Sha Wujing, appeared in the sky in his incarnation body and smiled contently as he looked at E.G. Hai down below. So, you are the one who played me? Who the heck is that monster? Constellation, cleanser of altars, is incarnating into the scenario. The next one to appear was the owner of the nine-tooth spike rake. Zhu Beiji kicked out in a piece of loincloth so flimsy and small that it might not as well be there flapping below his jiggling belly fat, shouted out loudly. Where are you, the conquering King Pixie, Yu Yunghyak? Ha ha ha. I was thoroughly impressed by you, the one who played me. It seemed that the cleanser of altars was fixated on Yu Yunghyak at this point. The great sage looked at both Zhu Beiji and Sha Wujing, and nodded his head. You came, fellow disciples. A bit late, weren't you? I didn't really come to help you out, senior brother. No, I was just curious about the actor playing me, so don't be mistaken. Zhu Beiji muttered out some excuses that sounded oddly coy for some reason, and along with Sha Wujing, who looked somewhat shocked and hurt, stood next to Sun Wukong. When the demon-slaying staff and the nine-tooth spike rake unleashed their statuses right next to the Rui Bang, it finally dawned on me that all of the three musketeers from the Journey to the West had gathered in one place. Great fable, Journey to the West, is regaining its original status. Soon, the nervous constellations of Emperor loudly yelled out. Judges! Are you saying that you'll be siding with the great sage? It's not just them. 6 more humanoids were standing tall behind the 3 Journey to the West's main characters. One of them resembled a monkey, while others resembled a shark, a lion, and even a rock. I immediately recognized who they were. The great sage who covers the seas, Saurian Demon King. The great sage who brings chaos to the heavens, Rock Demon King. The great sage who moves mountains, Lion Spirit King. The great sage who pierces through the winds, Macaque Spirit King. The great sage who chased away the immortals, Snub-nosed Monkey Spirit King. The last person wasn't a Yogo, but Zhang Huiwen. This just got rather interesting. Thanks to the blessing from the great sage who pacifies Heaven Bull Demon King, the status of the actress playing that role, Zhang Huiwen, was rising up at a breakneck pace. We will fight alongside you, great sage, heaven's equal. The 7 great sages that waged the great war against the heavenly worlds alongside Sun Wukong had finally gathered in one place once more. These Yogos didn't get much page time during the original Journey to the West, and as a result, their presence had always remained behind the veil of obscurity. They appeared today to undo the knot of resentment in their hearts. I always felt wronged because my nickname also happens to be Mai Haowang. Today, I shall resolve my deep-seated grudge. After the 7 great sages jumped into the fray, the flow of the battlefield changed greatly in an instant. Those outer gods, hesitantly studying the plotters' moods until then, joined the battle as well. Mai Haowang, handsome Monkey King, watching the battle unfold, muttered to himself. Where did that conquering King Pixie disappear to, anyway? Now that I took a look, I couldn't see Yu Yonghyuk anywhere. He should have been battling the 28 Mansions constellations just now, so... Suddenly, I had this ominous foreboding. I looked up at the Weni King and the great Dakibis, watching the climax of this scenario from high up in the sky. Advance. Do not retreat and continue fighting. The victory shall be Emperor's in the end. Emperor's constellations roared out energetically and continued to push forward. The ones taking the lead up front were the Heavenly Palace's 4 Heavenly Kings. Dhritarashtra of the East, Virutika of the South, Virupaksha of the West, Vaisravana of the North. Not only that, there were the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King Li Jing as well as Prince Neza. It seemed that they were getting desperate as well. And then, even the Queen Mother of the West, and the owner of the Jinggangzuo, Dao Tianzuan, too. Constellations that you might recognize by their names alone had descended to this place and unleashed their fables. There was little doubt that the great war against the heavenly worlds was being recreated right now. Nebula, Emperor, is releasing its great fables. This was the might of a great nebula. Even then, the great sage didn't back off. Many in the audience can't close their slack jaws while watching this abrupt spectacle. Constellation, Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, declares that if the prisoner of the Golden Headband loses today, they will no longer be considered rivals. Constellation, Demon-like Judge of Fire, is cheering on the prisoner of the Golden Headband. Constellation, Goryo's first sword, is expressing his respect towards the prisoner of the Golden Headband's martial prowess. The first one to kneel was Dhritarashtra, followed by Virutika. Everywhere the Rui Bang flew past, the heavenly world's army crumbled. The divine level of martial arts, the might of the greatest constellation, Sun Wukong, was in full display. But then, a Buddhist chant coming from somewhere caused the great sage to come to a stop for the first time. Suchuchuchuchu. Even I ended up gasping out in pain. It seemed that I wasn't the only one suffering here. Both Mai Haowang and Baimoan spoke in annoyed voices. God damn it. It's that baldy monk. The constrictive headband was tightening around the great sage's head. He massaged his temples with one hand while issuing a warning. Guanyin. Do not interfere. Those words prompted a Buddhist lotus pedestal to appear among the clouds. Guanyin was sitting in the middle of the pedestal, in the lotus sitting position. Wukong, have you forgotten about what happened in the past? What are you talking about? Please stop this. This is not the righteous path. What if I don't want to? Have you not received my aid until this moment? Can you not concede in consideration of that, at least? Your aid? The great sage's brows shot up higher. All thanks to your oh-so-wonderful aid, I got to enjoy untold hardship. As if he was venting out all of his built-up resentment, the great sage began shouting out loudly. All those trials and tribulations we had to go through came to be because of your voyeuristic tendencies. The great sage's memories related to Guanyin, the one who perceived the sounds of the world, began telling their tale. The law stipulates that one has to fulfill all 9 by 9, 81 tribulations in order to return to their self. However, they have only experienced the 80th calamity, and thus lacks one. 5 gates, I now task you to go after them and create the final calamity. The journey to the west final calamity, the one behind it was none other than Guanyin. The ones responsible for the world's calamity by raising up the army of demons and inciting the Yogos, were you and Emperor. They were all necessary tribulations. You must cool your ire now. As the great sage grew even more agitated, Guanyin began reciting the Constrictive Sutra once more. You think you can stop me with such a pathetic sutra? Pachachachat. The status emitted by the great sage, heaven's equal, disrupted the Constrictive Sutra's effect. Guanyin was taken greatly aback by this development, and while retreating along with her lotus pedestal, she raised her voice. Your powers have grown too strong. I alone can't handle him. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king bit his lower lip. We'd be able to win if we drag out the fight, but... Less than 30 minutes remained until the conclusion of the scenario. They knew that, even if they emerged victorious through a protracted battle, there would be no meaning if they were defeated in the scenario. Sakyamuni. Where is Sakyamuni? In the end, Emperor had to make the obvious choice as their final move. We only need the 5 pillars. As long as we have that fable, defeating that damn monkey bastard will not pose any problems. The 5 pillars referred to the Buddha's 5 fingers. Even if it was the heaven-defying Sun Wukong, as long as there existed the fable of him being subdued by the Buddha's palm, he'd not be able to escape from the stage transformation's influence. And one of the split bodies of the Buddha, Sakyamuni, existed in this world. Prince Neza whispered to the pagoda-bearing heavenly king next to him. Have you forgotten? Sakyamuni's whereabouts are unknown since the great war of saints and demons. Most likely. I fear that he had perished during the process of sealing away the Isle of Reincarnators. Sakyamuni has died? Doesn't that mean there is no method to suppress him? Please, do not worry. We do have his successor with us. At the end of those words, the army of Emperor split open. Come, Sakyamuni's successor. The highest-ranked constellations of Emperor were walking out from the space created by the army. Each and every one of them were powerful beings that rivaled the likes of Olympus' 12 gods. But when I saw the person wearing the airy Buddhist robe walking in the middle of them, I quietly grew agitated. Yu Sangha was their dot. Yu Sangha, reincarnating through the promise with Sakyamuni. And by the eternal chain of samsara, she was reborn as the Sakyamuni's successor. Great Sage? The great sage's body had stiffened up immediately. I could sense a great deal of emotional turmoil within him. I also heard Maihawan's and Baimoan's voices just then. So, that was why, when he saw her for the first time. Who'd have thunk that it was that incarnation body? At that moment, a certain part of the great sage's memories rushed in. That lengthy storyline of the journey to the west was abridged in an instant. And I realized it then. Yu Sangha hadn't simply reincarnated as the Sakyamuni's successor. No, her current incarnation body used to belong to someone very special. Oh, dear Sanzang. Tang Sanzang. The one whose mastery of the Constrictive Sutra had surpassed everyone else's in the whole world, and also the only one capable of coercing Sun Wukong with just one sentence. Emperor-S constellations loudly shouted out. Hurry and suppress that bastard, oh, Sakyamana's successor. Even as he saw Yu Sangha walk towards him, the great sage Heaven's equal showed no sign of budging, as if he had fallen deeply into the reminiscence of the ancient past. Great sage. Get a move on. What are you doing? We're going to get done in at this rate. Hearing those words made me a bit anxious as well. Was the Yu Sangha before my eyes the Yu Sangha that I used to know? What if she lost her memories, like how the reincarnated Shin Yusung lost hers? What if she became a completely different person to whom I used to know? Yu Sangha's hand gently reached out and touched Sun Wukong's headband. You seem to be in great pain. It must have been difficult for you. But the moment I heard her clear voice, I realized something. This person was definitely someone that I knew. She was neither Tang Sanzang nor Sakyamana's successor. No, she was the one comrade that I could trust the most, Yu Sangha. I believe that this item will look better on someone else now. Her hand slowly moved and took Sun Wukong's constrictive headband off. The headband that had been tightening around the great sage's head fell to the ground with absolutely no resistance whatsoever. Mai Hawang, Baimoen, and even the great sage, all of them stared at her in pure disbelief. Emperor-S constellations freaked out grandly and tried to rush in, but by then, it was all too late. As the roars from the constellations rained down, the prisoner of the oldest prison was finally being freed. Awakening condition for the constellation, prisoner of the golden headband, has been satisfied. Dushan Shengfo's fable is being unsealed. Modifier for the constellation, prisoner of the golden headband, is evolving. As the glorious rays of light exploded forth, the prisoner of the golden headband slowly opened his eyes. Constellation, the most ancient liberator, has been freed from his seal. Chapter 444. Dokja's Incarnation. Part 6. After he was freed from the seal, the great sage Heaven's equal became more like a yiksha. Constellation, abyssal black flame dragon, is greatly astonished. Constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is dazedly watching the battlefield. Constellation, spear that draws the borders of the oceans, is opening his eyes wide. Constellation, great mother god who created man out of earth, can't tear her eyes away. This power that, never mind the highest-ranked fable-grade constellations, even the myth-grade constellations had no choice but to pay attention to. Sun Wukong's clones multiplied through the body-outside body spell to number in the hundreds, nay, into thousands, and began dealing with the nebula's great army. Thunderbolts shooting out from their fists obliterated a group of historical figure-grade constellations in one go, and a dozen or so fable-grade stars crashed to the ground below after getting struck by the Rui Bang. The entirety of the Tongtian River couldn't handle his power and began crying out. Kwaya! This was the might of Sun Wukong, the one who had completed the conclusion of the grand epic, the journey to the west. Suchachachuchit. Sparks exploded nonstop on our body. We were inside the journey to the west, the location of his fable no less, yet the star stream was still suppressing his powers. The disjointed probability was returning in full to the Sun Wukongs as well as myself, and thanks to that, I thought I might lose my mind here. Excessive distortion in the probability is eroding your consciousness away. Looks like Magne is finding it hard to handle. Let him leave. For Sun Wukongs have agreed to separate the Demon King of Salvation. My body grew out of the main one like a sprout and began crashing down to the earth below. I retched uncontrollably, and by the time I regained my wits, I found myself sagging on top of a piece of floating debris on the Tongtian River. I could see Sun Wukong that I used to be a part of only a moment ago busy engaging the Emperor-S constellations in a bitter warfare up in the sky. A juicy. A voice came to me from somewhere. And soon enough, two humanoids crashed into me. One fairly large, and one fairly small. But. I raised my upper body with great difficulty and saw Shin Yusung and Biu clinging onto me. While crying her eyes out, the former was hugging my arm dirted by the blood and flesh of various yogos. I wiped my hands caked in blood on my coat and carefully hugged her. Even though the fourth wall existed, the incoming rush of emotions couldn't be restrained. I was back. I had managed to come back again. Dokja SSI. I raised my head to find Yu Sangha in her white robe standing nearby. She had reincarnated into the incarnation body of Tang Sanzang. Even though her body was now different, her appearance was the same Yu Sangha that I remembered. I smiled weakly at her. You came back. I've seen all the things you've done while I was away, Dokja SSI. My shoulders flinched just a bit before I knew it. I wondered if she'd scold me, but to my relief, she simply smiled benevolently. It must have been hard for you. Before I could say something in reply, though, she continued on. However, please stay that way for a little while longer. Ing? Just as I was about to open my mouth, Yu Sangha gently reached out and placed something on my head. You have become the owner of the constrictive headband. Due to the effect of the constrictive headband, a new modifier has been generated. You have become the prisoner of the constrictive headband. My jaw went slack from this unbelievable event. So, what should I do with you now? Seeing Yu Sangha pressing her finger to my forehead and wagging it around a bit, I was overcome with this slight sense of terror. I was well acquainted with the pain from the headband already. I quickly opened my mouth. I know that I made a few mistakes. I do. However, can I tell you in detail about them a little later? Right now, that side should take priority, I know. I nodded my head. We looked up at the sky where the Great Hole was still whirling around. And in the middle of the hole, at the two Yu Yunghayaks currently locked in a bitter battle. Asterisk. Yu Yunghyak, 999, wielding the dark heavenly demon sword, dashed into the air while scattering the status of a transcender. At the end of his travel awaited the king of all Yu Yunghayaks. So, this is what you chose in the end. The oldest Yu Yunghyak in the universe. He was Yu Yunghyak, who broke past the 1863rd regression turn and witnessed his own conclusion. 999 stared at that secretive plotter and recalled his own ancient memories. The end that came around to all living creatures just once. 999 also experienced his own version of the end. Although what he saw was different from the plotter's conclusion, he at least glimpsed his end just a little. The 999th regression turn was quite different from the others. The majority of people would never understand what it meant for a single person to live 1,000 lives. However, 999 did just that, and he knew that he'd get to live just as many lives in the future. And that was why, at least for this turn, I shall live for all of you. He sacrificed himself for his companions during the 999th turn. Captain, just forget about me. I'm telling you, leave me behind and go. During the 38th scenario, he lost his left arm trying to rescue E.G. Hai. Yunghyak SSI. No. Yunghyak SSI. During the 55th scenario, he lost his right leg for E. Hyung Sung's sake. But why did you, for someone like me? And during the 74th scenario, he sacrificed both of his eyes to awaken Shin Yu-sung. It's because all of you also did that for me. That is all. Whether this was him trying to atone for his past lives, or an odd, unlikely whim resulting from the 1,000th stab at life, he couldn't tell. Except that, Yu Yunghyak of the 999th regression turn earnestly lived his life like that. For the first time ever, he gave up on the idea of wanting to see the conclusion. What he wished for instead was, I wish for all of you to see the end of this world. Didn't matter even if he didn't make it, he just wanted one person at the very least to see the end of this star stream. Yu Yunghyak of the 999th turn sacrificed his memories and soul for that purpose. He didn't hesitate to form the Otherworld Pledge if that allowed his companions to grow stronger. And at the end of the road where he sacrificed his everything. Captain, we're almost at the final scenario. A small miracle happened. Just a little bit more, and we're there. Yunghyak SSI. He couldn't even walk with his own power anymore. He no longer possessed hands to swing a sword, he didn't have eyes to look at the world anymore, and couldn't use any of his skills after his bloodstreams all went haywire. But as the reward for his sacrifice, his companions managed to get near the final scenario. Please wake up. Please. Please. In the end, though, he didn't get to see the conclusion to all the scenarios. The Otherworld pledge had taken away his life on the verge of the final scenario, that was why. The secretive plotter stared at such, 999, and spoke up. Yu Yung Hyok from the 999th regression turn. I respect the life you led. Excluding me, you were the only one who managed to get near the conclusion. 999, quietly pointed with the dark heavenly demon sword. From the body of the secretive plotter, shouts directed at 999, coming from other Yu Yung Hyoks, flooded out. Are you being serious? Do you really wish to fight the great plotter? You need to wake up, 999. However, you are a part of me. No matter how much history you drag out and use it against me, you'll still never defeat me. If you are really me, then you should know that you can't persuade me. The life you experienced only amounts to half of mine. Besides, your memories aren't even perfect. Yet, you wish to fight me regardless? 999 didn't reply and simply built up his momentum. Perhaps he read something from such a 999, the plotter's attitude suddenly changed. If this is what you truly want. Jet black smoke rose up and began creating the outer skin of the secretive plotter. A certain man's outer appearance slowly materialized within the smoke. The loneliest king in this universe, the white coat wearing Yu Yung Hyok from the 1863rd turn, now stood there. I too no longer have the need to carry on with this pointless charade. At the end of those words, the secretive plotter discarded the coat he was wearing. The white coat flew away with the wind and landed on the surface of Tong Tian. Pitch black darkness seemed to wrap around his shoulders, and before long, a black coat was now covering him. It was the same coat that stayed with him through to the 1863rd turn. The heaven-shaking sword, in his hands, began emitting ominous aura. And at the same time, the figures of two Yu Yung Hyoks vanished in the air. Quack 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 quack. Countless friction noises arising from two swords clashing alerted others to the unfolding fierce battle. The vicious collision of two statuses caused sparks to explode endlessly and dyed the sky pure blue. This sudden eruption of the violent clash prompted the eyes of the audience, focused on the great sage's struggles until then, to shift away. That also included Yu Yung Hyok, standing on the surface of Tong Tian and looking up at the ferocious battle between the 999th turn and the 1863rd turn. His clenched fists trembled as his muscles tightened. Both of them would prove to be a difficult opponent for the current him. If he continued to diligently acquire more lives, then he might have reached that lofty height. Yu Yung Hyok kept his eyes wide open and fixed his gaze. As if he wanted to absorb everything about 999 and the secretive plotter, he read their fables over and over again. Fable, Hellscape of Eternity, has begun its storytelling. The fable depicting the truly unfathomable hellish landscape, the Yu Yung Hyok who had walked half of that hellish nightmare, and another Yu Yung Hyok who had actually witnessed the end of that hell, were clashing against each other. 2. Breaking the sky swordsmanship, drew long arcs in the air, like shooting stars. One was from the heaven-shaking sword, while the other was the dark heavenly demon sword. Two swords burned brightly like a pair of supernovas. Now that I look back, you didn't use heaven-shaking sword as your main weapon, did you? During the 999th turn, E.G. Hai inherited his heaven-shaking sword. The secretive plotter used the breaking the sky meteor strike, piercing through 999's entire body. You will never win against me with such poor sword technique. I'm sure that's the case. However, 999 became riddled with wounds in the blink of an eye, yet he didn't back off and held the sword even tighter. For a moment there, the plotter's eyes quaked. 999 had disappeared for a blink, but then, he materialized right before the stunned outer god's eyes. This was not the breaking the sky swordsmanship. It was instant kill. At least, I can show you the history that I lived through. It was Jihai's technique. Something like this. The dark heavenly demon sword was deflected away in the nick of time, but it now smoothly drew the arc belonging to Kendo. Next. Suchachachat. The eyes of 999 now flickered with the lights of demon slaying. The life Jihai lived during the 999th turn was now unfolding from 999's hands. The kick is sturdy as Hyun Song's. The claw technique as ferocious as Seol was. Shin Yusung's natural perceptiveness, and even Kim Namwon's excellent battle sense, too. Histories that 999 experienced through his body began telling their stories now. In this very moment, 999 wasn't alone. Techniques from the comrades he had saved were being recreated through his flesh. Kendo broke past the breaking the sky swordsmanship, and the combination of blackening and demon slaying dug into the open gaps of red phoenix Shuanpa. And so, as Seol was, thousand spirits poison took aim at the plotter's heart. With these measly trivial techniques, Great Fable, Pilgrim of the Lonely Apocalypse, has begun its storytelling. 999's fable began crumbling away. Hyun Song's defenses crumbled and Seol Wa's claws broke. Kim Namwon and Jihai both fell, while Shin Yusung went down on her knees. The dark heavenly demon sword flew out of his hands after he failed to withstand the impact, and the weapon fell to the surface of the Tongtian River. Just like always, 999 was left alone. 999, you have failed. Confronted by the unfathomable life lived by one individual, the lives of his comrades all crumbled away. 999 nodded his head, yet he did not despair. In another universe, it might be different. 999's gaze was redirected to the Tongtian's battlefield, something that the Great Sage and Kim Dokja Company had created. Events of this universe that had never happened before. Even you have been fooled by the baseless hope in this place, it seems. You speak as if it's someone else's business, great plotter. 999 staggered unsteadily, yet he continued to speak. We have failed. We failed to save a single one of our companions, and witnessed the end by ourselves. Was that really the end we wanted to see? That is feudal sentimentality. This universe is different. No, this universe shouldn't even exist from the beginning. The secretive plotter spoke coldly as his figure moved. This universe was created by the end result interfering with the cause. This universe hastens the collapse of probability with its mere existence. Indeed, this place shouldn't even be allowed to exist, as it's simply a practical joke by the most ancient dream. Great plotter, you already understand this, don't you? Within that closed-off universe of the oh-so-great original storyline, it was impossible to see the story we wanted to. And that was why you. For the first time there, the secretive plotter faltered slightly. But that lasted only for a moment. He lightly wielded the heaven-shaking sword, which pierced into 999's body. Return to me, 999. I need you back. The stabbing, heaven-shaking sword began sucking out 999's memories. Their ego that had been split apart was now being reclaimed. 999's blurring vision shifted down to the Tongtian surface below. The secretive plotter already knew who was down there and spoke in a mocking tone. He has already tasted defeat at my hands. Do you honestly believe that someone who can't even remember anything is capable of stopping me? Yu Yonghyok, take hold of the sword. A sorrowful voice reverberated throughout the Tongtian. And at the place where that voice reached stood Yu Yonghyok, who was neither 999 nor the secretive plotter. He was looking up with a confused expression but then looked back down to the two items resting on top of the debris floating on the river. 999's dark heavenly demon sword, and then the white coat the secretive plotter had discarded. I wish to live. If I have a chance, just like the world that I saw. Pain assaulted him in his head. Unknown memories brushed past his mind. Your fables are getting agitated. You need to remember who you really are. As if he was under a spell, Yu Yunghyak grasped the dark heavenly demon sword. It felt so natural in his hand, as if it had been his since a long time ago. And he picked the coat up from the debris as well. It was white, the color he disliked. You are not the third turn, Yu Yunghyak. That day, 999 told him that. Haven't you ever wondered why something felt off? Even if Kim Dokja was here, does you of the mere third turn developing this fast make sense to you? As he fell deeper into this familiar sense of déjà vu, he slowly put the white coat on. It fit him like a glove, as if he had worn it before. Do not try to bullshit me. I'm third turn. It'd be a lie if he had never thought about it at least once before. Was he really the third turn, Yu Yunghyak? And even if I'm not the third turn, all I can remember are the memories of up to the third turn, anyway. Yu Yunghyak slowly raised his head and looked up at the sky. The slowly vanishing 999 was looking back at him. Don't you have comrades now? The face that he had not seen once, even with a mirror. Comrades, that remember your life far better than yourself? The plotter's heaven-shaking sword moved. The jet-black status capable of rending even the universe itself took aim at him, and in that moment, Yu Yunghyak recalled someone. And then, the omniscient reader's viewpoint third stage has activated. As if a sponsor had descended, the power of a familiar star incarnated into him. Let's go. And the story began.